Right, good morning everybody. I've been involved in the community energy sector for 7 years, and it's never been more difficult, I have to say that. We're facing two massive challenges and a missed opportunity. The two challenges are falling tariffs. The feed-in tariffs have been the driver for community energy since they were introduced many years ago now, and they're falling. And when they fall, it doesn't just reduce the return on the projects, it actually makes the projects unfundable. When the rate of return falls below your cost of capital, they don't happen. It's not that they happen and they just don't make so much money, they just don't happen. So, I mean, one of the businesses I've been involved with is a community-owned hydro installer. We design and install micro-hydro schemes. We've done over 40 in Wales. Our pipeline of new projects has virtually ground to a halt. It's very difficult to do it. So tariff falling is a very big issue. Grid capacity is another big issue, and it's becoming it leads to some very absurd situations. We have a legacy grid that was very good at taking power from the main generators and eventually taking it out to the small farms. If you want to generate electricity where the small farms are, out on the hills, then you have a problem. It leads to some absurd situations where we wanted to install an 18 kilowatt micro-hydro scheme and got a grid connection offer of nearly £6 million. We didn't go ahead. And on the same section of the grid, there is a factory that can't expand because the grid connection for having extra power can't be installed. So that's jobs lost to mid-Wales. And it's a very bizarre and extreme situation. The missed opportunity is fuel poverty. There have been some very successful community energy projects in Wales, in Scotland, where communities have benefited. But they haven't, and I don't know of any situations where they've made any real contribution to fuel poverty. And fuel poverty is a massive issue in Wales, right across Wales. So we've got two problems and a missed opportunity. If I told you that I want to describe a way forward which might solve one of those, you'd be quite interested. If I told you that could address two of those issues, you'd be skeptical. If you said I had a way forward that could address three of them, you said it was a dreamer. I am that dreamer. The solution that I'm going to outline briefly is really, you can call it a farmer's market in electricity. And let me just describe what I mean. Let's go back to carrots. Let's think carrots for a moment. A farmer's market in carrots. So there's a farmer. She grows carrots. She grows tons and tons of carrots. And let's imagine that she just sells all of those carrots under contract to the supermarket. Great for the farmer, great for the supermarket. The supermarket cleans them, washes them, puts them back in the supermarket, and the local people who are adjoin her fields buy the carrots from the supermarket. It works really well. Good, reliable, washed, clean, plastic-wrapped carrots. If instead she sold some of those carrots in a farmer's market at a cheaper price, more than the wholesale, but cheaper than the retail, the carrots that the local community wants to consume can be bought first. The excess can still go to the supermarket. When it's out of season and there are no carrots to be harvested, then the consumers can still go to the supermarket. And a farmer's market in carrots is a very logical and sensible way of matching local production and local demand. So a farmer's market in electricity, how is that going to work? What do you need to do to set up a farmer's market in electricity? And there are a few things you need to do. And Mary has been working for 2 years on this project, so don't take any credit from me on this. Give every house who wants to participate and every generator in a small local area a smart meter, a 30-minute meter. Measure what they're using in each 30-minute sector and what they're generating in the 30-minute sector. First step. Second step, join the interests of the local generator and the local consumers into one legal entity, one shared beneficiary. Let's call it a co-op, a local cooperative of generators and users. You're still going to need a licensed supplier, because when you're not generating, you still need to buy in the electricity. When you're generating still much, you still need to export it. So we need a licensed supplier, and please take a bow, in this case, Cooperative Energy. And lastly, and most importantly, you need to persuade, and this is not an easy bit, Ofgem, Elexon, some other regulatory bodies, that actually those people can cooperate, you can net off together what is generated locally and what is consumed locally. Persuade them that you can be treated for the 30-minute settlement market, be treated as one customer. And in that way, you can start to get the benefits of local consumption of local generation without private wires and the complications of becoming a licensed supplier. It all sounds like a bit of great dream. However, it is actually happening. There is a trial, an active trial about to start of this technology in North Wales. But don't let me hear about it. I'm going to introduce, let them say about it themselves.
This is our first trial for Energy Local from end to end. So we're explaining how the smart meters will be used, how the model works, working out the regulatory side of it, and then working with the local community on the ground to recruit participants and explain how the whole thing works and how they can save money and keep money within their community.
Mae'n gyffrous iawn achos mae'n golygu bod trydan gwyrdd sy'n cael ei gynhyrchu yn lleol, actually yn cael ei ddefnyddio yn lleol, sy'n rhywbeth eitha arloesol. Dwi'n meddwl bod o rioed wedi digwydd yng Nghymru o'r blaen.
Be sgynna ni fyma ydy hydro high head. Mae'n cymryd dŵr allan o'r afon. Mae'n syml ofnadwy. Oll da ni'n neud ydy defnyddio disgyrchiant a dŵr mwyn troi olwyn, mwyn creu trydan. Mae'n un o'r technolegau hynna sydd gynna ni. Da ni wedi ffindio ffordd o gweithio efo amryw partneriaid i gyflenwi trydan yn uniongyrchol o fyma. Mae'r cynhyrchydd yn ei dipyn bach fwy o arian, ond yn bwysicach byth mae'r gymuned yn elwa yn uniongyrchol o prynu trydan, wel, ar y peilot yma am 7 ceiniog y kilowatt.
So we've been talking with the householders about how they can move their electricity load around in their house and really understand what uses a lot of power in the house. And once we start talking to them, and we do it on a community basis with their neighbours, with their friends, it stops being something confusing and scary and something that they actually get really interested in.
Mae'r peilot mae'n golygu cwpl o newidiadau I bobl. Yn gyntaf, maen nhw'n gorfod cytuno I osod mesurydd clyfar yn eu cartref nhw. So gosod y smart meter, a mae hefyd yn golygu newid cyflenwr. A wedyn y trydydd peth mae angen I bobl wneud, really, mwyn cael y byd mwyaf posib allan o'r peilot, ydy bod yn fwy ymwybodol o pryd maen nhw'n rhoi y peiriant golchi ymlaen, pryd maen nhw'n gwneud I smwddio. So just meddwl, mae'n stido bwrw glaw tu allan, mae'r hydro mynd I fod yn mynd full pelt, felly na I wneud yngolchi rwan.
Yn y bôn, dwi'n teimlo fod yn gyffrous bod pobl lleol yn gallu defnyddio ynni sy'n cael ei cynhyrchu yn lleol. Yn hytrach na bod yna ynni sydd yn cael ei anfon trwy gwyfra dros filltiroedd lawer o wahanol lefydd, dyn ni yn defnyddio ynni cynhenid.
Mae'r broses addysgu yn bwysig I ni, a da ni eisiau gwneud dipyn o waith fo'r ysgolion lleol.
Nathon ni ddysgu sut oedden nhw'n datha yn neud ynni ac sut oedden nhw'n dod ar ynni I tai pobl ac sut oedden nhw wedi creu. Nathon ni ddysgu bod nhw yn mynd I greu fel lle trydan a lun trydan newydd ac fel bod ni'n mynd I dalu llai.
Our mission is to allow communities to get more value out of their locally owned renewable power generation and also to get benefit from time of use tariffs, so there's different prices at different times of day.
Mae'r peilot cychwynnol yn mynd I newid bywydau neu torri costa byw tua rhwng 100 a 200 o bobl. Mae hynna yn arwyddocaol a da ni'n hynod gyffrous I fod yn rhan o hwn.
Dwi'n gweld bod o'n gam gyffrous i'r dyfodol lle ella fedrwn ni fynd yn gwbl hunan gynhaliol o ran ynni yn Nyffryn Ogwen.
Mae hwn ar flaen y gad I gweddill y wlad a mae pob yn dweud na data ydy'r dyfodol I cynhyrchu egni a Bethesda a Afon Berthen y fyma, dwi'n gobeithio fydd bobl yn edrych yn ôl ar hwn pan fydd hwn dros Prydain.
Some of the benefits are pretty obvious. If half of your house's electricity is being bought at half the price, without behaviour change, they're cutting that electricity bill by up to 25%. That's something that's easily attainable. And 25% reduction in electricity bills is a real and important step. The generator, and in the example there, the generator is selling that electricity at 7 pence per unit. That's an increase of about 30% in the price they're getting at the moment under a PPA. That increase, it doesn't sound a huge amount, a couple of pence. That makes all the difference between schemes that can't be financed and can be financed. So potentially, even though the generating fit falls, if we can get more value for the electricity that is generated, we will see new projects which will not go ahead under the fit rates, but can go ahead if we can utilize that energy. So there's two really obvious benefits. Perhaps the most exciting benefit is a little bit more subtle, and it's I'll come back to the carrots. There's an implicit model here which will help and really encourage and support behaviour change. If you want to save money buying carrots, it's best if you don't consume as many carrots when they're not available. And you have your carrot-heavy recipes on the days when they're freely available. Well, electricity is exactly the same principle. What we've got with the co-op, the local co-op that is formed between the generator and the consumer, the generator doesn't get any extra benefit if the consumers aren't using the electricity when it's being generated. And the consumers don't get any benefit if they use electricity when there isn't surplus electricity being generated, because they're still having to buy it in at the normal prices, or it's still being sold at the normal prices. So there's a very strong mutual local interest in matching supply and demand. And that doesn't come, I don't see where else in the system that really exists. It's at the local level. You've got a local incentive for people to cooperate and work together. The local co-op can encourage behaviour change. And picking up on the point that was made earlier, there's two motivations here. There's the extrinsic motivation of saving cash, because the more you match, the more you save. But there's also the intrinsic communal benefit of, well, if I don't use this electricity at this peak point, then someone else can benefit locally, might be able to benefit from it. So you've got a cooperative spirit emerging here, and an incentive to shift behaviour, shift demand, match. Matching supply and demand, it isn't going to do it overnight, but it could make a big contribution to some of the pressures on the grid. If you know that a high proportion of what you're generating at that small piece of the grid is being used in the same period, you don't need the same connectivity. You don't have to export it all in the middle of the night and have the same wires in. So there is a third. So fuel poverty, grid connection, fit reduction. There are those three things. And I think it has enormous potential. We're doing a trial in North Wales. That trial will start later this month, in July. When that's completed, there's an opportunity to roll this out much more widely. And it makes a big impact. Every kilowatt hour that is generated and used locally saves, let's say, 10 pence. And that 10 pence stays within that local community. It may be a reduction in fuel bills, it may go to the generator, it may go to help run the co-op that's promoting energy-saving energy behaviour. The 100 kilowatt hydro that's running the trial, it's only 100 kilowatt hydro, it's not a big machine. If all of that energy is utilised, or a good proportion of it is utilised in the local community, that's an extra £30,000 a year that is staying in that community. That's additional, not the feed-in tariff, it's on top of, that's £30,000. You can start repeating that across Wales and you have some really big economic impacts. So we have an opportunity where information about electricity, not cutting-edge new technologies about new battery technologies, not new wires, using existing infrastructure, using information about technology can actually unlock really quite substantial benefits for the future. So look out for it. I think it's very exciting.